Now at 10, a fatal crash occurred late last night north of Moundville. Plus, Vernon County authorities arrest a man who led police on a chase in a stolen farm vehicle. And the National Alliance of Mental Illness hosted a chili cook-off fundraiser in Joplin.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. This is your KOAM News at 10. I'm Jalen Banks. Unfortunately, we start with the crash that left one Pittsburgh woman dead. Late last night, Missouri State Highway Patrol reported a fatal crash that occurred along Missouri 43, 2 miles north of Moundville, Missouri. The single vehicle crash involved a 2015 Ford Fusion traveling south on Missouri 43, driven by Tori Thomas, who was 21 years old and from Pittsburgh. She died at the scene and was the sole occupant of the vehicle. Vernon County deputies received a call that a farmer's vehicle was stolen and they were following it. A pursuit was initiated by Vernon County. At one point, deputies with Vernon County were forced to fire at the person's vehicle. The pursuit continued into Cedar County, where the vehicle crashed and the driver fled on foot. MSHP helicopter was also in pursuit and was able to lead deputies and officers to the individual to take him into custody around 9:30 p.m. last night. Off of Missouri 97 near 1450 Road without incident. The name of the individual will be released once formal charges are filed. The National Alliance on Mental Illness hosted a chili cook-off fundraiser at the Joplin Family Worship Center. The fundraiser is to gather funds to support multiple support groups and outings for people dealing with mental illness. The organization says support groups are needed in Joplin because everyone is going through something.
We try to support the community with just doing what helps a person to get through another day. Both of us are both suicide survivors. I took and shot myself. And with NAMI, it helps us cope with the way we live with life.
National Alliance on Mental Illness hosts weekly support groups such as Food and Fellowship, Ending the Silence, and more. And now we move to weather. Hopefully we have favorable temps. Sam, what do you have for us?
Yeah, looks like we have some chilly weather coming up, as a lot of folks like to make chili when it's chilly outside. And that's what we're going to have in the forecast. But right now, radar is all clear across our area, just a little bit of moisture being picked up. Earlier, we were watching some showers down in southeastern Oklahoma and west central Arkansas. Those have now started to dissipate as they move towards Little Rock away from us. But last night, we had a pretty good soaking in some areas, a swath of rain from southeastern Kansas right into the Joplin metro. But the heaviest rain was down to the south in Fort Smith and north central Arkansas, where they desperately need the rain as well. And if we take a look ahead, we're going to see a cooler Monday and also some record cold in conjunction with our first hard freeze. And also we may be a little bit wetter next week, and we'll have all the details on that coming up in our forecast.
And now we move on to the battle for Congress. With the midterms fast approaching, a new CBS poll that's out shows Republicans are still favored to capture the House with an estimated 224-seat majority. Democrats had been narrowing the gap, but the momentum has stalled. CBS's Deborah Alfarone is in Washington with details.
There's a lot in here that lowers the everyday cost for middle-class families.
President Biden is trying to convince voters his big legislative win, the Inflation Reduction Act, will bring prices down. But a new CBS News Battleground Tracker poll shows 65% of registered voters believe the economy is getting worse. And 68% of registered voters say the Biden administration could be doing more.
This is a top concern for all voters.
It's also a top concern for the president.
On Face the Nation, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg said curbing inflation is the president's top economic priority.
So there's a very clear choice, a very clear difference in approaches here right now on Capitol Hill and among office holders, where the focus for Democrats, the focus for the president, is to cut that cost of living and to cut the pressure, get people more breathing room at a time where inflation remains a major concern.
Another top concern for voters, gas prices. The new poll found 63% of people said prices are going up, compared to 16% in August. Republicans are pouncing on the price at the pump and blaming Democrats.
They're talking, bragging as if gas prices are lower. Gas prices are about 60% higher today than when Joe Biden took office.
The president has an action-packed week ahead of him on the campaign trail. He's heading to Pennsylvania, where he'll stump for Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman. At the White House, Deborah Alfarone, CBS News.
We now take this time to honor tonight's four-state hero. Corporal Maurice Brown, a Parsons, Kansas native, served from 1953 till 1955. He earned the National Defense Medal and the Good Conduct Medal. To Corporal Maurice Brown, we thank you, our four-state hero. Coming up, how some children miss certain development due to the pandemic. A key medicine used to help attention disorders is in short supply, according to a federal agency. The FDA says Adderall, a prescription medicine used to help attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, is in low supply across the country, and pharmacies are having trouble keeping up with the demand. Some manufacturers make higher dosages that won't replenish until next January, while others are missing ingredients for making it. Diagnoses for ADHD have increased, also leaving supplies low. The FDA says it will continue to monitor and give supply updates. A new study says the global pandemic may have caused babies and infants to miss out on key development markers. Pediatricians and child health workers with Royal College of Surgeons in Dublin say milestones in infant communications may have been lost to and the study says 25% of babies spent the year not meeting another child their own age. Incidental interactions such as contact at grocery stores didn't happen, as well as critical communications such as learning a word, pointing at objects, and waving bye-bye. The scientists say, don't worry, new opportunities are back again with normal activities. Today, the country's state TV reported that at least 40 people had died after protests against the Islamic regime spread to a prison holding political prisoners, some of them Americans. CBS's Roxana Sabiri has the latest.
The flames that erupted from Iran's most notorious prison last night turned deadly, with activists fearing the number killed is much higher than claimed by the regime. As the sound of gunshots and explosions rang out in videos posted online, and families waited anxiously to learn about their loved ones trapped inside, Iran's state-run media sent in a reporter claiming firefighters quelled the flames in a sewing workshop and that prisoners were safe in bed. Evin Prison houses both regular criminals and political prisoners, like journalists, activists, and recently protesters. The fire has reignited anti-regime rallies, a day after angry demonstrators confronted security forces in the city of Ardabil, where a teachers' trade association says plainclothes agents had raided this girls' school, killing one student and injuring and detaining several others. It's a pattern, activists say, that's emerging across Iran.
It is a very dark moment with regard to thousands of people who have been detained.
Roxana Saberi, CBS News, London.
The dating scene is turning into a dating dilemma for millennials. A new LendingTree.com survey says 22% of millennials have gone into debt over what they've spent on dating. Yikes. The survey found millennials who range in the age from 26 to 41 spend an average of $91 on a night out. A LendingTree analyst says the cost of everything from dinner to concerts, flowers, and ride shares is more expensive, making it hard for millennials to make ends meet. The survey also found that about 85% of respondents said they wouldn't feel offended if their partner took them out on a low-cost date. A beloved American sports car calls another temporary halt to production over supply issues. Chevrolet's Corvettes will be idled in manufacturing next week. The iconic sports car line is having more trouble with parts supply shortages. General Motors, the parent company, says normal operations should resume the week of October 24th. Corvettes remain one of the most popular and best-selling sports cars in the U.S. About 25,400 were sold through 9 months, outpacing Chevy Camaros. The new high-performance Corvette Z06 model costs more than $106,000. Later, we take a look at the top performers from the box office.
And break out those sweaters and heavy coats. I'll have the forecast coming up right after this. Well, we had some sunshine for your Sunday and pleasant conditions all the way around. Last night at this time we had some storms, but not tonight. Down in Indigo Sky Casino and Resort in Sitka, Missouri. Pretty nice evening down there. And like I said, we had pretty nice temperatures across the entire area today. We made it up into the upper 60s to around 70 degrees. A little bit cooler off to the north and east. A little bit warmer out to the west, 72 in the Ville as well as Sedan for some of the warmest readings. And temperatures right now are falling down into the 50s pretty much everywhere, with a few 40s thrown in like at Garnett and Yates Center, where they're currently sitting at 48 degrees. Right now, let's take a look at the Almanac, because this is kind of unusual. The high today was exactly where it was supposed to be, and the low was exactly where it was supposed to be. So today was just as normal as you can be for October the 16th. The records are 88 back in 95 and 31 degrees, and we're going to be seeing that over the next few days. All right, let's take a look at the Almanac over the month, and you can see that high temperatures have been mainly above normal this month, with 12 days above, 2 below, and of course today normal, combined with last Thursday being normal. But we're going to have a lot of blue in here over the next few days, and we'll get to that in our forecast. Temperatures, like I said, right now are generally in the 40s and 50s, 46 in Iola, 51 in Neodesha, 50 in Lamar, 59 down in Miami. And 24 hours ago, we're about 10 degrees cooler tonight than we were last night at this time, but this is nothing compared to what's coming over the next few days. And part of that is because the dew points are going to be so low, it's going to allow the temperature to really fall once we get clear skies and light winds. All right, dew points right now are in the 30s, 40 down in Jay right now for one of the warmest dew points. Currently in Joplin, we're sitting at 52 degrees, a north wind at 7. It feels like 52. The dew point's 39, and the pressure is currently rising, and that's going to continue to rise over the next few days as high pressure builds in. Radar is all clear right now. We have a freeze warning in effect already, and this goes until Tuesday at 10 a.m., and down in Rogers and Mays County, the freeze watch is in effect down there. So we're definitely going to get below freezing, but not tonight. I think we're going to stay in the 30s with northwesterly winds, and then a little bit warmer down to the south with 39 in Pryor and Jay. All right, let's take a look at tomorrow, because we're going to have mostly sunny skies, brisk northwesterly winds, and highs in the mid-50s pretty much across the area, maybe 60 in Bartlesville. And then as we go through Monday night into Tuesday morning, that's when we set our first record low, with lows in the 20s with northerly winds across our area, maybe a few clouds out to the west in Howard and Sedan, but they're still going to get below freezing too. Then on Tuesday afternoon, only 40s for highs. That's very unusual. Maybe 50 in Parsons, but you get the idea. Northwesterly winds. It's going to feel more like winter instead of fall. Then on Wednesday morning, look at this. Lows in the lower 20s across our area. Hard freeze. So the growing season is coming to an end, and maybe even some teens in some isolated valleys where the winds really drop off. Speaking of winds, tomorrow they're going to be out of the north and west at around 15 to 20 miles per hour. Then on Tuesday, with the temperatures in the 40s and winds around 15 miles per hour, it's definitely going to feel chilly out there. Then on Wednesday morning, light winds around the area, and that's what's going to allow temperatures to really fall. Over the next 7 days, 55 tomorrow, 47 on Tuesday, so that's an alert day because of the record, and then Wednesday a record as well, and then by next weekend, it'll be close back to 80 degrees. So we're going right back up on the roller coaster. And then on Sunday, we have some storms rolling through, and that may continue into next week. So we may have some wetter weather next week. So that's pretty good news, as the drought definitely needs to take a break.
Absolutely. Again, you already said it yourself, it's a roller coaster, but luckily for Danny on Friday, when they're out shooting football on Friday, the temperature's going to be back up and not those freezing temps that we're going to see early in the week.
The nice weather for the football games continues, so that's pretty good news.
All right, sounds good. Well, we had an awesome matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills this day. Danny Terz will be back with highlights and more after the break.
The Kansas City Chiefs host the Buffalo Bills this afternoon for a huge AFC showdown. It's a rematch of last year's epic divisional round game. Let's get right to it. The first quarter, Mahomes scrambles, finds Juju Smith-Schuster. He shakes a few guys loose, takes off for a 42-yard touchdown. Chiefs take the lead. Third quarter, Kansas City trailing once again. Mahomes has some time, hits McCole Hardman for 6. It's all tied up at 17, and of course, there's drama in the final minutes. Josh Allen throws to the end zone. Dawson Knox touchdown, Bills up by 4. But there's plenty of time left for Mahomes. He's under pressure here and gets picked off by Taron Johnson. The interception seals the win. Bills top the Chiefs 24-20.
I looked originally we had a corner route and he had dropped back, and I kind of wanted to reset. I think you could see I wanted to reset and throw it to him fast, and Milano was in the way. And then by the time I reset and threw it to him again, Seven made a great play and got back in there. Every time I get the ball, no matter what the situation is, I expect to find a way to win. That's what this whole offense's team expects. And so you get the ball with a minute left and 2 timeouts. I mean, you're trying to find ways to get chunk plays, and if I can just barely maybe hit McCole on that first one and get that chunk play, then it might be different.
Pitt State has a 2-game lead in the MIAA standings following its 49-10 win over Lincoln. Here are a few of the top performers from Saturday. Caleb Lewis averaged 5.8 yards per carry and found the end zone twice. The Gorillas ran for 251 yards in the game. Colby Katzis caught 2 passes for 93 yards, including a 68-yard touchdown connection. And Thomas Cook led the team in tackles with 8. That's a season high for the sophomore. Missouri Southern came up short against Central Missouri on Saturday, falling 20-17. Jaden Stoshak had a nice game though, 6 catches for 91 yards and a score. Nathan Glades rushed for 105 yards. That's his 4th game with over 100 yards this season. On defense, the Lions linebacker trio filled the stat sheet once again. Colton Winder had 11 tackles and a fumble recovery. Oklahoma beat Kansas 52-42 on Saturday. Big win for the Sooners, taking down a ranked team and stopping a 3-game skid. Dylan Gabriel, in his first game back after a concussion, threw for 403 yards. Marvin Mims and Braden Willis both had over 100 receiving yards in the game, while Eric Gray rushed for 176 yards and 2 scores. The win puts the Sooners back over 500 and hopefully gives them a little momentum for the second half of the season.
Our guys have shown great humility. It wasn't as though there was all these bad things happening, but I wanted to make it very clear, what it's going to take. It's going to be really hard, to finish the year. To me, hopefully just a shot in the arm that we need, both confidence-wise and, try to get into a rhythm.
We'll be right back.
The final showdown between Laurie and Michael Myers dominated the box office this weekend. David Daniels has the early estimates from the top 5 films.
Didn't ask how you were doing.
Amsterdam fell to 5th place on ticket sales of $2.9 million. The Woman King held steady in 4th place, earning $3.7 million. Lyle Lyle Crocodile dropped to number 3, taking in $7.4 million. After 2 weekends on top, Smile fell to 2nd, but $12.4 million pushed the horror flick past the $70 million mark in domestic box office. Halloween Ends began its run in 1st place with $41.3 million, less than expected, but still the best debut of any film since Nope back in July. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Well, Sam, we've had some temps that are a little bit more favorable.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to be seeing record temperatures, record lows as we go into Tuesday morning and Wednesday morning, so we call it an alert day. But then by the weekend, it'll be a memory because with temperatures close to 80 degrees once again, warm conditions, and then some storms on Sunday possible. And then in the extended forecast, temperatures drop down into the 60s with scattered storms around. So hopefully we can maybe put a little bit more dent in this drought that we've been suffering from with those storm chances next week.
All right, sounds good. Danny, we've had a lot of action this weekend. What else do you have for us?
Yeah, just a tough loss for the Chiefs today against the Bills, but I have a feeling we're going to see those 2 teams again.
Yeah, as far as the last couple of years goes, pretty high chance.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, that's our time for now. Thank you for joining us. This crew will see you here next weekend. Thank you for making us part of your night.